How are you all? I hope you're doing well. So, Saturday evening this past weekend in New York City, a mob of migrants attacked several NYPD officers. Now, I wanted to talk about this particular story because it is really fascinating. Thankfully, the officers are okay. That's good. If there were any injuries, they're just minor, thankfully. But this is such a crossroads of so many bad policies, I don't even know where to start. It's fascinating in the worst of possible ways. This Twitter account that I follow, Crime in NYC, he commented on this story, which we're going to get into in just a second, and says, "Does anyone recall any incident of a mob attacking police officers in New York City before? Let's go back to the high crime days of the most violent neighborhoods. Has anyone ever seen or heard of a mob attacking NYPD officers? I believe certain psychological barrier has been shattered, wherein it was instinctively understood that this is something that just never happens. And NYPD, they're historically known as, that's why they're called New York's finest. They're the toughest of the tough of all of the police officers in the United States. But apparently our migrants don't think so. And the story gets even more ridiculous. I told you these are going to be several horrible policies that are all just intersecting each other, saying, hello, excuse me, I'm going this way. Move out of the way. There's not room here for the both of us. There's not. So of these individuals, the good news was 5 of them were arrested. The bad news was 4 of them are already let out on zero cash bail. One of them, hold on, let me get my notes. Oh gosh. Oh, notes. I wasn't prepared. One of them has already been arrested several times. So he's had several incidences with security guards where he's become aggressive. One, he was attempting to rob a Macy's. The other one, he was attempting to rob another store. Both of these instances, this individual got aggressive with security guards, was arrested. So maybe he's the one who they are finally keeping in the slammer. I don't know, but that's how ridiculous this is. You break into our country, you come here illegally, you attack our security guards, you rob our stores, you attack our NYPD officers, our New York's finest, and we let you out on zero cash bail. You're in the country. What is this? This is sanctuary cities. This is open borders. This is defund the police, soft on crime. This is zero cash bail. None of this is working. It's a joke. And clearly, these individuals, they have no fear of police. They have no fear of being deported. This one person was arrested several times. Maybe we should grant our police officers and our security officers sanctuary in other countries against the asylum seekers. Maybe that's what we should do. But it says here, a group of migrants pummeled NYPD officers attempting to make an arrest outside a shelter in Times Square. 2 officers and a lieutenant from the NYPD's Midtown South Precinct approached the group of men outside a migrant shelter on West 42nd Street near 7th Ave around 8:30 p.m. on Saturday. That's where the Roosevelt Hotel is. That's one of the biggest migrant centers. The officers had been trying to break up the disorderly crowd outside the Chandler building, where the city announced the opening of a mega shelter in March. When the cops attempted to put one of the men under arrest, multiple started to attack. The men kicked and punched the officers in the head and body and body cam released by officers. The men often hung out behind the building, drinking and smoking, according to a security guard. The men live at migrant shelters in Manhattan, Queens, and Brooklyn, police sources said. 4 suspects were charged and released without bail. So either 4 were released, I thought it was 5 were arrested and 4 were released. So it's either 4 were arrested and released, or 5 were arrested and 4 were released, and 1 was still out. They were still searching for someone, but honestly, that's not the most shocking and important part of the story. that detail. But essentially, all of these policies are completely imploding. And another thing that recently happened in New York City, which is just going to make all of this worse, you have city council that just voted that every single time an officer has an interaction with a citizen, they have to do paperwork. They have to record it, which is going to do two things. One, it's going to prevent them from wanting to interact with anyone because they have to do paperwork all the time. It's going to boggle them down and give them less time to go out there and fight crimes. And like one NYPD officer recently said, I don't have the direct quote, but it's in the New York Post. He said, we're already struggling with not having enough police officers over time. We're already struggling with the crime that we have with our own citizens. Now we're dealing with this whole new influx of just a subset of new problems that we're having to deal with. Exhibit A, the cops that were attacked in Times Square. They could have been doing other things, keeping New Yorkers safe, but that's not happening now. And another story that came out recently are you have migrants now starting pickpocketing rings. So this was another story in the NY Post. This was out of Greenwich Village where migrants were arrested. They were starting these pickpocketing rings where they would frequent areas where a lot of people are at bars late at night, typically a Friday night or a Saturday night, and then they will just go and start pickpocketing a bunch of people. And those areas are popular to target because you have people that they're distracted, they're with their friends, they're possibly inebriated, it's crowded, people aren't, they're vulnerable, they're not paying attention like what they normally do. So New York City is just a mess of all of these far leftist liberal policies. And when you put them all together, they do not mix. If New York wasn't a sanctuary city, okay, if our border was secure, let's back that even further. If our border was secure and we were following the laws on the books, none of these people would be in New York City. They have gotten over 170,000 people, most of whom are not even going to have legitimate asylum claims. So if we were securing our border, they wouldn't be in New York City in the first place. If New York City wasn't a sanctuary city, then they would have been reported to ICE and deported. So after the first arrest, none of them would be here. And without zero cash bail, they wouldn't have been let out right away in the first place. So all of these policies, they're chaotic, they're dangerous, and they're turning New York City, like many other liberal cities across the U.S., into hellholes. So that is what is going on in New York City right now. I will say the silver lining, well, first of all, the officers are okay. They weren't seriously injured. But the silver lining in the incident that happened with the officers is it's causing a lot more people to pay attention. It's such a shocking thing that happened, especially in the middle of Times Square, which a lot of people go with their families. It's a pretty shocking thing. So it'll probably... more people will pay attention, hopefully, because this story is so awful. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.